How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
the end. I'm burning in the dystopian. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopian. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the This is the final Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to be out you.
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
What up, guys? Happy Thursday. Well, it's been a crazy 24 hours. And as you may just have noticed from the promo on the screen, we've got a weekend coming up. Now, I wasn't sure this was going to happen, which is why I didn't announce it before now. I was not at all sure that this was going to happen. I knew about this event for a while. I had signed up for this event a while ago, and I never got any links to it. I never got any communication about it. I never got any confirmation email about it. And I was starting to be like, is this thing even happening? But I know socialists, and socialists sometimes wait until the last minute to do things, and sometimes socialists have to do a mad scramble at the end. And so I was pleasantly surprised and delighted when last night the Revolutionary Socialist event that I'm going to be covering this weekend as a supporter exclusive finally got back to me and sent me the damn link for the event. And so I had a good feeling it was going to happen. I was just like, come on, guys. I cannot announce that I'm doing a full weekend long event of coverage if you assholes aren't sending me to the links to the event. It was really inconsiderate and really unfair of people who I'm trying to secretly record when they don't know. I mean, I don't know. They might, like, here's the thing. The reason I'm announcing I'm doing this, if the conference that is doing this hears this announcement, they're going to know it's about them. This is not covert. This is a full weekend revolutionary socialist event. But the thing of it is, ain't shit they can do about it. Because, and I'm just going to say this, I'll say this, I have no problem saying this. When I cover events like this, we have backup after backup after backup after backup. And so I'm not going to tell you what specific event we're covering because I don't want to make it that easy. But I will tell you that I have several backups in place just in case anything goes wrong. Because I have enough experience covering multi-day events now where sometimes they figure out that I'm recording them and they try to kick me out, and then I just come back with another backup. And it's just like, I am a professional. I have been doing this for years. And so this weekend, for supporters on my Substack, my locals, my Patreon, my Twitter subscribers, and my YouTube channel members, all of whom I love very, very, very much, we are going to be going inside a 2-day radical, revolutionary, socialist event. And this is going to be full 6-hour days, 6 hours on Saturday, 6 hours on Sunday. The lineup looks great. I think we're going to see more crazy stuff in this one than we did in the Socialism Conference, if I'm being honest about it, because the group that we're covering is absolutely involved in the Socialism Conference. They go to it, but it's one of those things that, like, when you're just a smaller group, it can be a little bit easier to, like, let your guard down. And I have a feeling they're going to say a lot of quiet parts out loud, and I have a feeling I know who's presenting, even though they haven't announced the presenter list. And so I would, if I were you, I know we just had Labor Day weekend. It's time to clear your weekend schedule. It's time to come spend it with me and us. And I'll probably still be doing a Socialism Saturday on Saturdays too, because I am that insane. I will watch 6 hours of live socialism in a row because this is all going to be a supporter exclusive. You have to support my work to get access to this. And then after I do the 6-hour supporter exclusive, I will do a Socialism Saturday. It might be an abbreviated Socialism Saturday. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. It might be a little bit of a relaxed Socialism Saturday. But I will be doing Socialism Saturdays, like a debrief to everyone and to try to get people to come on Sunday and stuff like that. And then we're going to get up and do another day on Sunday. And it's going to be awesome. This is full socialism weekend, folks. Everyone on deck. No fucking excuses. Cancel your schedule. Go to the dispensary. Get some edibles. Do whatever you need to do. Make sure you got a fridge full of snacks. We're watching socialism this weekend, and that's just going to be the way it is. All right. So in order to get access to this event, this is going to be a supporter exclusive. I'm doing it only for people who are supporters of my work. The very best place to support my work is over on the Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Sign up as a supporter for $8 a month, $80 a year, and you will receive access to this weekend's events. I will also be opening this up to supporters in my locals community, supporters on my Patreon, supporters on my YouTube channel members. So if you pick up a YouTube channel membership, you're going to get access to it. If you become a subscriber on Twitter, you're going to get access to it. And we're going to have some fun. And it's going to be a great weekend. You've got some yarn. I'm about to finish a project, Judy. I've got to wind some yarn to have something to do because I got a whole box of yarn. I literally have a box of yarn sitting on my office floor right next to this chair. And I'm like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'll kill some time between now and when I get that MCAL kit. I'll do it. I don't care. Judy's ready. So it's going to be a great weekend, guys. It's going to be an awesome, awesome, awesome weekend. What do we have going on today? Well, last night I was working on a project for the Center of Left-Wing Studies. What I'm doing with the Center of Left-Wing Studies is I'm trying to get all the infrastructure built and trying to get us like kick-started on all the different projects. I already have the infrastructure for the Queer Marxism Project. I've got that basically built. I've got the infrastructure for the Mapping the Modern Left project basically built. I've got the infrastructure for the Zine Archive basically built. And now I'm working on the infrastructure for the Gender Cult. Now, these are 4 projects that are the focal point of the Center for Left-Wing Studies, which is my nonprofit that just launched a couple months ago. The focus of the Center for Left-Wing Studies is I'm doing research and archival work into the development of far-left ideology in the United States. This is the only focused endeavor that I know about that is actually trying to study and archive the history of the far left from an anti-communist perspective. I mean, I'm non-partisan, like I don't subscribe to any political tribe, but obviously we are not communists, we are not leftists, we kind of judge them a little bit harshly, but we are documenting how this ideology got so embedded in American life. We're documenting what they're doing. We're creating a map of modern leftist activism in the United States today. We are documenting their propaganda. We are archiving it so it can't just disappear off the face of the earth. I think that this is really, really important. I think these are things that a lot of people are overlooking. And one of the categories that I'm working on is this project called the gender cult. My presupposition is this. I worked in higher education for a long time. One of the things that I learned when I was working in higher education is that it's not just about the academic departments. It's also about the research centers, the institutes for the study of such and such, for such and such reason. More leftist activism and leftist scholarship is done in these little research centers, these little kind of like student centers, these little kind of like academic areas. They aren't teaching in the degree program, but they're researching content and they're churning out these papers and these documentaries and these conferences and these archives and all this stuff. This is where a lot of the crazy leftist shit is coming from. So I'm doing a project to try to document the existence of these research centers and institutes all over the country and monitor it in real time. As a part of that, I'm having to go and I'm doing a lot of research right now. I'm doing a lot of research on college websites. And you guys don't even know. You guys don't even know how crazy it is and some of the stuff I found already. We're going to be watching some crazy spy streams this semester, I'll tell you what. But one of the schools I was looking into last night was the University of Michigan. Very, very big, elite public school. And I was digging around the University of Michigan's website last night. And on the University of Michigan's website, I found the National Center for Institutional Diversity at the University of Michigan. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these research centers, these institutes. This is not an academic degree granting program. This is a little unit within the University of Michigan that just churns out research on whatever topic the faculty member who runs it wants to talk about. And that research is fed into the media. That research is fed to other academics. They hold events, they hold conferences, things like that. And I happen to find on the National Center for Institutional Diversity's website, they've been hosting some pro-DEI anti-Trump trainings. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that public college, the University of Michigan, who, by the way, isn't this another school that Christopher Rufo assured us wasn't doing this stuff anymore? Isn't this yet another example of Christopher Rufo going, guys, woke is dead, DEI is dead, we're winning. And then I go onto the college website and I search for like 15 minutes and I'm like, yo, they're doing a whole presentation series about how they're pro-DEI and anti-Trump, Rufo. You maybe want to take a look at this. You maybe want to, step outside the White House for a second and actually look at what's going on at these colleges every time you declare that you've killed DEI at universities. I don't know, bro. I think it's a little stupid to declare something's dead when it's alive and well, just provably, and I don't even have to try very hard to prove it, but that's another rant for another day. Anyway, there's a couple presentations, and these are all available on their fucking YouTube channel. Because this is the other thing, too. All of these YouTube videos that we find, they're rarely on, like, the main University of Michigan YouTube channel. They're always on these small little YouTube channels that no one is even looking at. Like, this YouTube channel has 431 subscribers. Dear colleagues, anti-DEI policies are determined... Hang on, what does that say? I can't read it. Anti-DEI policies and practices are detrimental to our scientific community. So it is a detriment to science to get rid of DEI, according to the University of Michigan. We've also got this one here. Diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives are legally defensible, and here is how higher education should respond. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. How about this one? This is right on their YouTube page. How should we be leading higher education today with boldness and vision? That's 3 presentations within the last couple months that the University of Michigan has publicly on their website on one of these little centers where they are getting faculty together, and this is like not an insignificant amount. Like these are like non-insignificant people. This is a professor of women's gender studies at the University of Michigan, professor at Yale, professor at the University of Michigan of astronomy, Karen, professor, chair of the Department of Psychiatry. Who they got in this one? Associate professor of history and American culture at the University of Michigan. Let's see, University of Texas, Austin. Let's see, another University of Michigan person. These are big-time college faculty members doing presentations openly where they are defying the Trump administration and saying, no, we got to keep doing DEI for reason X, Y, B, and Z. So I'm going to do a little bit of a research stream today, and we're going to watch these presentations. We're going to watch some of them. We're probably not going to get through all of them, but this is a research stream, and I want everyone to understand this is going to be a little bit boring. I gave you Owen Schroyer versus Alex Jones yesterday, okay? Today we are focusing in, and I know, see, this is the pain in the ass. When you actually do the actual important stuff that needs to be done, no one wants to watch it. They just want Alex Jones versus Owen Schroyer. You know, it's fine. It's fine. I will do the pop culture streams every once in a while so that I can dig down into research on other streams. So we're going to watch as much of this today as I feel like watching, honestly, guys. And so that is what we're going to be doing on this stream. Also, by the way, also within this National Center thing, they've got an anti-racism collaborative. The Anti-Racism Collaborative at the University of Michigan aims to foster research and scholarships on racial equity, racial justice, inform practices, engage various publics, and advance anti-racist principles in organizing. You don't say! I thought woke was dead, Christopher Rufo. You're telling me the University of Michigan has like a whole fuck-off anti-racism collaborative where they're producing anti-racism research to advance anti-racism and equity? Golly gee, I had no idea this stuff was still going on. You keep telling us this is all done. Yeah, this is actually more important than Owen Schroyer, but you know, Owen Schroyer's looking hot, man. What can you say? Owen Schroyer's hair was looking good in that stream. So people on the internet have their priorities. Yeah, we're winning. We're winning. We're winning. We're winning. So we are going to be watching a couple presentations to guys. Now, we do have a schedule today, though, because not that one, this one. I was originally going to do this as a supporter-exclusive spy stream, but because this weekend we're doing a supporter-exclusive spy stream all weekend, I thought, why not just make this one public? So we do have a spy stream coming up later tonight, so we will basically be streaming this University of Michigan stuff up until I have to stop to start this spy stream. And so we are going to be doing a spy stream later tonight, where we are going to be going inside kind of the debrief call from the Labor Day protests. As you guys may know, there were actually pretty significant protests on Labor Day the other day. They were predominantly organized by the teachers unions, the NEA, the ATF, through this May Day Strong Coalition. And so the May Day Strong Coalition is having a debrief call at 8 p.m. tonight to talk about what happened, how they felt about the Labor Day protests, and most importantly for me, talk about what they're doing next. So when we do these debrief calls, it's not just about what happened. They always say, okay, here's the next thing we're going to do, because the left is smart about this stuff. The left never just schedules one event. They always schedule event after event after event after event after event to keep people engaged. Because the purpose is not necessarily to have the biggest protests in the world, although sometimes that does happen. The purpose is to keep people coming to events, to keep giving people something to do. And so at 8 p.m. tonight, there's going to be a live call where they're going to do a debrief. I will stream it live on the channel. This was going to be a supporter exclusive. I'm now opening it up to everyone. You're welcome. Just saying. Before we get into the stream, I do want to remind people that I do have a merchandise store, and that merchandise store is Red Menace Supply Company. You can find it at redmenacesupply.com. This used to be the Unwoke Art Store. I had to change the name, though, because I couldn't do the word woke anymore. I couldn't. James Lindsay ruined the word woke for me forever and ever and ever. And so I had to change the name of my merch store to the Red Menace Supply Company. But let's be honest, the branding is better. The branding is fucking badass. And I've got a couple new designs in the Red Menace Supply Company. And the first one I'm really excited about. I told you this, guys, was coming. We have our new Plague Doctor design. In honor of the bubonic plague coming back to California, We have a new Plague Doctor design for the Red Menace Collective. It is in black. It is in red. Doesn't that look fucking cool? It is also available in a lighter color just for Judy, but I always prefer the black because I think black, just like on tattoos, it makes clothes and colors just pop and stuff like that. And so this is just a cool shirt, guys. I just think it looks cool and badass, and it is part of the Red Menace Collective, which is the VIP book club for my publishing company. And it's just like, it's got a little QR code on the sleeve, so if you want to send people to my work, you totally can. And it just looks cool. 25% off everything with that design on it for the rest of the week, because that's the rule of thumb when I launch the new designs. Also, you might notice we have the Gnostic sex cult design. Now, this design was modeled after a picture that I took of me. And part of the reason I made this t-shirt, I'm going to be honest, it's a troll. If you can't tell, it's a little bit of a troll, but it's a cool fucking shirt. Honestly, like, I'm actually gonna, you know what? Listen, I have these people on the internet who call me a narcissist all day, every day, right? And so in my head, I was like, Karlyn, what is the most narcissist thing that you can possibly do? How about you take a picture of yourself with your tits out, and then you use that picture to model an illustration that you put on a t-shirt, and then you put Gnostic sex cult over it, which of course is an inside joke in my community. If you know, you know. And then you sell that t-shirt and you make money off of it. I'm just trying to peek out and be the most narcissist that I can be, because I have these ridiculous people on the internet who run around calling me a narcissist all the time. Yes, and then I'm going to buy one and I'm going to fucking wear it, and there ain't shit they can do about it. We're going peak narcissist. We're going peak meta narcissist, and it's a badass design. And actually, I especially like this this olive version of it, which I normally don't like this color, but I just think that looks really, really cool and vintage. Come on. And of course, the design is having its desired effect. And I have to show this to you guys just because it made me laugh so hard. Because the 500-pound fat ass who stalks my channel and watches every single thing that I do and live tweets and tattles on me to everyone on the internet, the 500-pound fat ass, of course, had something to say about it. And I have to show you what they said. So I posted them, you're fat and ugly, me takes photo of myself with my tits out, use this photo to create illustrated Gnostic sex cult propaganda design that looks badass, sells t-shirt profits, we are not the same, and that was the promo for my shirt. And then the 500-pound fat ass stalker screenshotted that, because of course she's blocked, and she responded, "She is right that we are not the same. You also know what's not the same. That AI art she created and what she actually looks like. Filters are us is cray cray, yo." You know, fat ass, you're right. You're right. This is an illustration. You are correct, fat ass. This is an illustration. It's not the same as a photo. Now, did I use filters to create this illustration? No, I used fucking AI art. I took a picture of myself, and I'll show you the specific picture of myself that I took. It's right there. Boom. I took a picture of myself, and I loaded that picture into the AI, and had the AI work my magic. And having the AI work my magic resulted in that awesome fucking image. But, you know, even if you look at this post, because this is another post from the 500-pound fat ass right here. This is another post from her where she was complaining so hard. She's like, "Karlyn doesn't really look like that. Fat ass, no one looks like that. It's an illustration." They're so upset. Every time someone thinks I look hot, they get so upset. It's so funny. She says, "Lord, I just looked at her stream and she said she posted this to try to own the classical liberals that are always calling her fat and ugly. Congratulations. 0 people are owned and she just looks more insane. No, fat ass. No, you actually fell exactly for the trap that I set for you expertly. And guess what, Jill? People have already bought this shirt. So I have indeed profited off of your guys' bullshit again, and I have a badass shirt, and it looks awesome, and I don't care, Jill. I know you're really upset that my tits are better than yours. I really do get it. I really do get it. You know, these people, they think that I'm not on video 6 days a week. It's like these people are always like, that's not what she actually looks like. I'm like, anyone can see what I look like by tuning into my video literally 6 days a fucking week. I'm on camera 6 days a week. Am I trying to hide what I look like? She's just trying to to pretend that she's not ugly, and then they find some screenshot where I'm going like this, and they go, and they screenshot that, and they're like, look how ugly she is. Look at this face she's making. It's like, fuck you, assholes. Anyway, I had a good time triggering I'm using filters. Yeah, I'm using filters. First of all, like everyone on the internet, and the filters that I use aren't even. I used a black... Guys, did you know? I'm not really black and white in real life. I used a black and white filter. Hey, do you guys want to see what this what this image looks like in color? I can show it to you. You want to see what this image looks like in color? Well, not really, but... Boom! No filter. Well, it does have a little thing on it, but... There you go, Jill. This is what it actually looked like before I made it black and white with a filter. And I'm not afraid of you seeing that either. These people are nuts. These people are fucking nuts. Yeah, sepia and shambles right now. Sepia, did you guys know that black and white is not real life? One more thing before we get started, and it does have to do with this super chat by Naruto. Actually, let's hang on. One more thing before we get started, and it does have to do with this super chat by Naruto. Thank you. Can we take a moment to welcome Lauren Chen back to the land of the internet? Conservative media owes her a massive apology, and I won't hold my breath. No, I won't hold my breath either. I won't hold my breath either that Lauren Chen is going to get that apology. But you know what? Lauren Chen is owed an epic amount of fuck yous. Today on her Twitter, this was the first time Lauren Chen has posted in a full year. And she posted a big long statement. And basically the gist of that statement is that a year ago, she had 30 armed guards banging on her door one morning. They came into her house, they took all her stuff, they seized all of her money, and then they put her through a living, breathing hell where they tried to destroy every single part of her life. And guess what, guys? Spoiler alert. Then they quietly closed the case after they completely disrupted Lauren Chen's life. After she lost every contract she had, after they canceled her YouTube channels, all of them, after like every conservative influencer turned on her to say, you know, Lauren Chen and like so many people threw Lauren Chen under the bus. It turns out the government quietly closed the case, never returned her money, and never issued any sort of apology or statement for the amount of upheaval that this woman had to endure in her life while she was pregnant. It's gross, man. It's gross. In April, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York informed our lawyer that the investigation into us and our company had finally been closed. This news provided us with some relief. But it soon became clear that although we weren't criminals, the SDNY had no interest in restoring us to where we were before the investigation began, though they could easily do so. There would be no similar press release absolving us of the very public and very serious allegations that had been made against us. There would be no help clearing our name with the Canadian government. They would not restore our visa status, and predictably, despite the lack of charges or conviction, our financial assets, all of our savings, would not be returned. We have lived humbly this past year, both due to financial woes and public vilification. We have had very little certainty about what our future as a family will look like. Because my American visa was contingent upon our company, we had no choice but to leave our home and our children's place of birth. We are doing everything in our power to get a new visa and return home. Sadly, we also lost some people who we believed were our friends. But more notably, we are blessed to have a lot of people. No criminal charges were ever actually brought against myself, my husband, or our company. The legal investigation has been closed quietly. Despite this, the road ahead of us is fraught with difficulty and uncertainty. And she still hasn't got her YouTube channel back. She still hasn't got her money back. And so now Lauren has launched a Give, Send, Go, and it looks like she is trying to sue the Department of Justice, essentially. She's got $11,000 raised so far. I really do hope people support her in this. Oop, not that one, this one. It's disgusting what happened to Lauren Chen. It is disgusting that, listen, Lauren Chen, they started going after Lauren Chen when Biden was still in office. If it had been any other person on the right and the Biden administration had gone after them, conservative influencers would have said, fuck you, this is a politically motivated investigation. Like, they would have defended almost anyone, but they didn't defend Lauren Chen. And do you know why they didn't defend Lauren Chen? I'm going to explain it. Because Lauren Chen figured out the deal with Israel. Lauren Chen was speaking up too much against Israel. Lauren Chen was platforming and supporting Nick Fuentes. Lauren Chen was saying the things that she wasn't supposed to say. And so the minute that the Biden administration tried to fuck over her life, no one on the right was there to have her back. And Lauren Chen's been around a long time. She was a very well-liked person. She had contracts with so many different people. She's not like she's fucking Lauren Chen. This is not an evil person. It was disgusting to watch what they did to her. It was disgusting to watch how quickly Turning Point USA, The Blaze, every major influencer came out to denounce her. And now, lo and behold, she was never a criminal in the first place. She never did anything wrong. They have dismissed all charges. Her life has totally been fucked up. And this is the harsh lesson that people need to understand about the conservative influencer sphere. If you say the wrong thing, they don't care if you get fucked over. In fact, they will try to facilitate it. And this has happened over and over and over and over and over again. And Lauren Chen is just another example of that. So I really do hope that Lauren Chen lands on her feet. I'm sure she will. She's a very smart girl. She's got a lot of resources and she's got a lot of friends that are on her side. So I'm sure, yeah, Tim Pool and Dave Rubin can go fuck themselves. Completely and totally. I wish nothing but the best for Lauren Chen. I'm glad to see her back. I hope she wins. I hope that she gives everyone a giant-ass middle finger, and good for her. And I'm really glad she persevered, and I'm really glad that she's still fighting. I cannot imagine how difficult the last year has been for her, but I love Lauren Chen. She's always been a real one. She's always been nice to me, and I appreciate her. And I hate watching people go through this type of shit because it's so incredibly unfair and it's so incredibly unnecessary. And if it had been anyone that wasn't speaking up against Israel, the entire conservative establishment would have been speaking out in her favor. But because she was speaking up against Israel, they let her hang out to dry. And it's gross. And it's why I want nothing to do with most of these people. And you know what? I just keep getting vindicated every single time in my decisions. Every single time something like this happens and I'm like, you were absolutely right to step away and get the F out of there. So welcome back, Lauren Chen. We wish her nothing but the best. All right, guys, with that out of the way, let's get into our content for today. Which one do I want to watch first? This one was 3 months ago. That one was in May. I want to watch first, I think. I want to watch this one first. So there's a couple presentations from the University of Michigan that we can watch. And guys, as a reminder, we are doing a research stream. All of the presentations are from the same place, but they all have the same goal, which is they're complaining about the Trump administration and their pro-DEI presentations and stuff like that. So this it looks like a general kind of presentation. Dear colleagues, how should we be leading higher education with boldness, wisdom, and courage? This has got a moderator from the University of Michigan, one from Hunter College, another two from the University of Michigan. Oh, look! The former chief diversity officer at the University of Michigan. Ooh, it's got some big names in it. All right, let's see what they had to say. How very nice that they have all their bios at the beginning. That's actually
Good
really helpful.
afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Deborah Lowenberg-Ball. I'm the Jesse Jean Story Fry Distinguished University Professor of Education and an Arthur Thurnau Professor in the Marcel Family School of Education at the University of Michigan. And I'm honored to be the moderator for today's webinar. Welcome. This event is part of a series that we've entitled Dear Colleagues. This event series is an opportunity for all of us to come together and gain a deeper understanding of both the historical and the current efforts in higher education to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, to acquire more tools to interpret our current climate, and build the skill and the courage to collectively resist and reaffirm our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education. As part of this series, we're using a shared...
Well, it's funny that you said that because yes, he actually did, Master Shake. And actually, someone retweeted a tweet I sent out at the time. James denounced Lauren Chen almost immediately. And he said, look, Lauren, I told you Lauren Chen was part of a PSYOP, and I tweeted that at the time, and someone retweeted it this morning. So yeah, James Lindsay denounced Lauren Chen almost immediately, because of course he did.
Definition, although people certainly differ on how they think about these, but we want to assert a shared definition for our purposes today. So we know that talent is distributed across all communities, but opportunity definitely has not and have never been. Cultivating a diverse campus community, including removing barriers to higher education access, and so on, enables the types of culturally and intellectually rich learning environments and working environments that are necessary for a world-class education, catalyzing new knowledge production and innovations, and developing solutions that positively impact society. In order to best nurture and benefit from a diverse campus community, we have to create and sustain the conditions of equity and inclusion that allow all campus members to participate and thrive. So this is in fact both an individual imperative to provide access and opportunity to people who have so often been marginalized from participating, and it's also a collective imperative to make possible the kind of work that we do when we bring together people with different kinds of expertise, experience to work on collective problems. In 2020, an executive order was signed to prohibit diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings within the federal government. While this order was overturned, the 2021 United States legislative session launched an organized and well-funded campaign to attack diversity, equity, and inclusion in the education system, with hundreds of bills introduced across states to censor teaching, training, and learning in K-12 and higher education. In less than 3 months in their current term, the Trump administration has now intensified the coordinated political and cultural attacks with additional executive orders and obscure directives targeting academic institutions. Despite the fact that we have compelling evidence across decades of work demonstrating the transformative educational benefits, the social benefits, the importance to our society of supporting diverse and inclusive communities, higher education is...
You know, I've thought about this a lot as I've been researching colleges and universities and like really digging into university websites. Like, higher education is truly one of the biggest frauds that's been perpetrated on people. And I say that as someone with literally a PhD. I've done a lot of college. I've done a lot of research. I understand. I do think there's value in research. I think there's value in pure academic inquiry. Higher education doesn't do that, though. And it's kind of like if the faculty members and the academics were actually doing pure research for the sake of doing it, and I do think there are people who do this, by the way. But that's not what these people do. These people do research to push a political narrative. And so all of their research is just slightly tweaked, just enough to push a political narrative, or the topics that they pick to research are designed to push the political narrative no matter what the outcome is. And it's just like, it's like when I've been going through all of these academic websites and looking for like events and things going on and stuff like that, it is overwhelming the amount of bullshit content that's been created. It is just overwhelming the amount of just like studies that I look at that study and I'm like, that's not fucking real. Like, I know that's not real. Like, what are you even talking about? And it's just, it is such a farce, and it's so fraudulent. And it's so pervasive throughout our society that people think that it is shocking. Like, one of the things I was thinking about last night, and I swear we're going to go back to the video. One of the things I was thinking about last night is, how did you not, like, when I was in higher education, and granted, I went to some weird schools, just coincidentally, the schools that I went to and the schools that I worked at tended to be more conservative, and that was a pure accident. That wasn't planned, but it was just like, if I go back and I look at the schools that I went to and the schools that I actually like worked with, they were almost always more conservative. So maybe that was the reason I didn't see this. But when I was in college, I truly did not think it was skewed that far left. I truly didn't. Like, of course you hear things and you're like, oh yeah, like, yeah, but but what I kind of thought is like, oh, of course, you know, smarter people are going to be more liberal. That was honestly my thought process at the time, and I hadn't thought through the ideas, and I hadn't thought through where all of this stuff goes. And it's shocking to me looking back. I look at the stuff I find on college websites and I'm like, how did you not know what was going on? But when you're in the context and you don't have this type of information introduced to you, also, when you're in college, you don't see everything that's going on at the college. You see the narrow segment of what you're involved in at the college. It's not everything that goes on at the college. And now I have just a much bigger, broader perspective, and it is unbelievable some of the things that go on at colleges. Colleges need to be completely defunded. Like, completely defunded. I don't want none of this dicking around that Trump is doing. No more public money for colleges. No.
Questionably under attack during these times. And what that has brought to mind for all of us is, what does it take to lead during these times? And because at the University of Michigan, we have had a history of strong leaders who have held their foot to the pedal on the importance of this agenda, we thought it would be useful for all of us to hear from people who have done that work, to understand, both in the turbulent times in which we're living right now, but also over time, what the work to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion has required of leadership. We think it's required bold and strategic practice across all levels at the university to keep our commitment to inclusive excellence going. In this session, we're so fortunate to have a distinguished panel of higher education leaders who have worked at the University of Michigan. And what they'll be able to do with us is share the critical lessons they've learned across their careers, offering wisdom to all of us that help us know what we might do in these times to lead with courage and conviction necessary to confront and challenge the threats to societal.
I can tell you that I absolutely found stuff on MIT's website that is not pure research, so I wouldn't make any assumptions about what it is and is not corrupted.
Progress that we have worked so hard for and have so much more to do. Together, they will discuss the importance of leadership in continuing the fight to dismantle the long-standing systemic and structural inequities that have shaped U.S. higher education and, in fact, our society historically. So without further ado, I'm just so pleased to welcome today's panelists, 3 experienced and skillful leaders, each of whom has served in a pivotal role at the University of Michigan, but also in many other settings. And we have a great deal to learn from what they have done and what they have learned about that work. So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists. We have Nancy Cantor, who is currently the president at Hunter College. We have Robert Sellers, the James S. Jackson Distinguished University Professor of Psychology, Professor of Education, and former Chief Diversity Officer at the University of Michigan, and Mary Sue Coleman, President Emerita at the University of Michigan. And as I said, each of these has occupied roles of leadership in critical times to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we have a great deal to learn. I really look forward to the conversation among us today. So to kick it off, clearly, each of you has been involved in both local and national efforts to defend and forward diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education for a long time. Could you each, just sort of by way of saying a bit about how you're entering the conversation, share with us why is it that throughout your leadership careers, you've chosen to defend these values, to work for the actions required to enact them, and even through times when there have been strong oppositional forces working, just as we're seeing today?
Hang on.
I don't know. Nancy, might you be willing to start?
Hang on. No, these people are not the useful idiots. These are some of the people who've been pushing this there for decades and decades and decades. These are not useful idiots. These are true believers. It is very important that people understand the difference.
Start.
Sure. Thank you, Deborah. Well, I think for me, I come at it in two ways. One is the notion, and always have, the notion that universities are really public goods, and that we need to be asking, what does the public need from us? Rather than what can we do for? What does it need from us? And we need to take our guide. And
doesn't that just say everything? Doesn't that just say everything? This, what is it? Former university president, whatever. This woman comes on and says, you know what? The colleges are a public good. But it's not about what the community wants from us. It's about what does the community need from us? And the community might not know what they need from us. But that's what we need to look for, not what they want from us, because, we are the educated. We are the elite. We are the ivory tower. No. Useful idiots and true believers are not the same thing. They are different things. We are going to be smarter than the people on the screen right now. Listen to this again. It's not about what the public wants from us. It's about what the public needs from us. Sarah, who the fuck are you? Sarah, you're going to learn really, okay, we need to pause and we need to set some parameters. Sarah is new here. Sarah, you are in my classroom. I am not in yours. I promise you, you don't know anything about communism that I don't already know. You think you know everything because you watched a Yuri Bezmenov video one time? I have watched over 5,000. Sarah. The next time you talk back to me, you're going to get permanently banned. You are in my classroom. I am not in yours. I have watched over 5,000 hours of leftist organizing. You watched a Yuri Bezmenov video. We are not the same, Sarah. So if I'm giving you a correction, I expect you to take it. And if you don't like it, get the fuck out. But you don't come into someone's classroom where I am trying to teach, I am trying to research, I'm trying to break stuff down and argue with the person at the front of the class. That is not your fucking role. And if you are new here and you don't know that, well, welcome to the community. And we're going to see if you have a thick enough skin to be here. Because I promise you, if you're crying because you think I'm so mean right now because I yelled at you and hurt your fifis, I promise you, the left is going to hate you a whole lot more than I do. Jeez, always got to be someone watched a Yuri Bezmenov video one time, knows everything. Okay. If you're not new here, then you damn well should have known better. So now you're getting put in a timeout, Sarah. Now go sit in the back of the class and be very quiet and try to listen. And if you have a question, you can ask a question. But if you really watch my videos all the time, then you know what this is. Yeah, probably going to end up getting banned. Probably will. We'll see. Maybe she'll surprise us.
I think for me, I come at it in two ways. One is the notion, and always have, the notion that universities are really public goods, and that we need to be asking, what does the public need from us? Rather than what can we do for? What does it need from us? And we need to take our guide.
See, this isn't about what we can do for the public. It's about what does the public need from us?
Well, I think for me, I come at it in two ways. One is the notion, and always have, the notion that universities are really public goods, and that we need to be asking, what does the public need from us? Rather than what can we do for? What does it need from us? And we need to take our guide. And you have already mentioned what I see as what they need. I mean, that is
they need diversity,
oppression, if you will, the systemic barriers, what Gary Orfield calls the walls around opportunity, have been very pervasive over generations. And one of the things we most need to do is dismantle those walls if we're really going to benefit from the incredible diversity of talent that is out there. You know, I feel like we're constantly playing against a deficit mentality or a deficit lens, as opposed to seeing the assets in the diverse talent pool. And so that's one piece. And then I come at it also as a social psychologist. We know, and you've mentioned that, Deborah, we know that in fact, as Scott Page says, there is a diversity bonus to be reaped. That is, teams, for example, with diverse lived experiences at the table, if they can relate to each other, and that's what universities need to teach, they produce better innovation. And that's what we're about. We're about producing better knowledge and better solutions for society. And when I was provost at Michigan and we were putting together the affirmative action cases with Grutter and Grants, it was very clear that the educational benefits of diversity for everybody was on the table. We had all those wonderful amicus briefs from the military, for example, saying how important it was to have a diverse talent pool in leadership as well as in the enlisted. So I think there's lots of evidence. We know we need, what a social psychologist would say is, we can't be solo representatives. We need critical mass. And that's why we really need to think about DEI and all its ramifications.
Mary Sue, do you want to take that up?
Sure. Thanks so much for inviting me to be part of this. My views were developed very early in life when I was a child in the 4th to 6th grades, and we lived in South Georgia. And at that time, post Brown v. Board of Education, the governor and the legislature in Georgia proposed to close all the public schools rather than integrate. And my family, my father and mother were so horrified that my dad was a university professor and he found a job in Iowa, and we moved to Iowa because it was a state that greatly valued public education, and that was extremely important. So that sort of experience, and when, you know, everything was separate. There was complete segregation, and I didn't realize until I grew older about how damaging that had been to me, and, you know, to African-American children too. And then my views about this were sort of developed when I was in college, and then when I was a professor at the University of Kentucky, the same thing at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. New Mexico was a different kind of diversity, but it was all the native tribes and Pueblo people and how they interacted, Hispanics coming from Latin America. And then at the University of Iowa, when I was there, I really worked to try to promote more diversity. At Iowa, it was more difficult because it's not such a diverse population. It wasn't then. So then, though, it was really crystallized for me because I was happy at Iowa as president. I was invited to come by the search committee to interview at Michigan. And I admired so much the heroic efforts of Michigan in defending affirmative action, taking this on when no other university would be willing to do it. Michigan did it. And I was impressed with the academic prowess of the institution. But the real kicker for me was when I was in the search committee and they were questioning me for about an hour on all sorts of things. And they finally turned to me and said, "Do you have any questions for us?" And I said, "Well, you know, I'm really interested in how each of you feels." And there were about 20 people, faculty, staff, students on that search committee. And I said, "Tell me what you think about affirmative action and the defense that the university has made." And each of them, I was blown away by what each person said. And clearly they understood the research that had been. Nancy, you talked about that a little bit, the basis of research. Both the School of Education and ISR were so impressive to me, and the long-term benefits of having that experience in college, and then what happened to you 5 years, 10 years out in your life. It benefited everybody, not just the underrepresented students who were given opportunity. So that's how I came to the question, and I've appreciated everything that Michigan has done since then.
Well, I think it's fitting to turn to you next, Rob, to pick up on what our colleagues have already brought up. As the first chief diversity officer, I know you have perspectives on this as a leader.
Well, first, I want to thank Deborah, and I want to thank the NCID and Impact and all the other sponsors for this opportunity of this great series.
Hang on, before we hear from the now former Chief Diversity Officer at the University of Michigan, Francisco, thank you for the super chat. These women are are some of the biggest beneficiaries of so-called DEI, or with what they used to call affirmative action without public funding. These witches will be working in soup kitchens. I mean, I don't know that I would say that. I don't know that I agree with that assumption, but I do appreciate the money. Thank you.
And what I would say is actually very similar to both Nancy and Mary Sue's comments. For me, it was always personal. So as an African-American male, I've been extremely fortunate personally in life in terms of individuals going way out of their way to make sure that I had opportunities and chances. And with those opportunities and chances, it is also very clear to me what has been left behind. So whether it's through family, friends, other spaces, those individuals who have not had those same chances, who perhaps could have not only participated and move forward in advancing their own lived experience, but also could have contributed to the larger good in ways that we're missing, is always very, very salient to me. And so this notion of again, talent being everywhere, but opportunity not being everywhere. One of the things that having had those opportunities that folks often miss out is the assumption that, oh, well, with that statement, basically what you're saying is that there are a lot of people who are in advantaged situations that don't deserve to be in advantaged situations, that they somehow didn't work hard enough to get it, and that there's folks out there that isn't. When in fact, it's actually not the case. That most of the people that I've seen with opportunities, regardless of where they're from, have worked hard at it and deserve to be there. But the problem is that there are a whole lot of other people who equally deserve to be there, if not in some cases more so, who never had an opportunity. So it's not that we are denigrating the effort and the worth of those who have made it. It's making sure that they always understand that their making it isn't simply a function of their work and effort, but is really a part of a system that is not equal, is not open to everyone. And so from the diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective, one of the things that became really important was also understanding.
What's he talking about there? Just as to do a quick pause. When he says these people are the beneficiaries of a system that is not always equal, what is he saying? What is he saying? This is not a discussion that we're going to have right now. We are focusing on the content. Thank you. What is he talking about? What is the system that he is talking about? Don't make this hard. Do not overthink this. Thank you. The system that he's talking about is capitalism. The people that have opportunities are the beneficiaries of a system that is not always equal. The system that he is talking about is capitalism, because capitalism is what created systemic racism. It's what's created all systemic disparities. The systemic disparities are what's not equal. He's talking about capitalism.
That not only is that have a negative impact and is extremely detrimental and problematic to those who don't have the opportunities, but it is extremely important and detrimental to all of us. So if higher education's number one job is to address the major challenges that we face in society, and we don't have all the folks that can contribute there, then we all are going to suffer. We all are going to ultimately pay the price. And so that has always been a framework that I've tried to bring in my work with regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But make no mistake, the experiences of being in a society that is not equal, that does not provide opportunities, it's important that we also remember those who don't have that same chance.
Well, thank you so much for getting us started, all three of you. Before I turn to ask you a little bit about how you would suggest people might respond in their respective contexts to the plethora of executive orders and directives that are flowing our way daily, you've all mentioned two things that stood out to me. One was the moral imperative around equity, diversity, and inclusion. But you've also all referred to evidence and to the basis for the arguments empirical. And I wonder, in its not always respect for or trust in science and in evidence and in research, could you say something about how people might think about how they could wield evidence in the support of the argument to defend and advance, protect, and promote diversity, equity, and inclusion? How might people think about how best to take advantage of the fact of the strong research basis that you've all spoken to in complement to the moral imperative? I don't know who might like to start with that.
I can sort of perhaps jump in here a little bit. I'm really taken by the research of another prominent University of Michigan faculty member, Skip Lupia, about just presenting data and evidence. If you have people who are at opposite ends of a spectrum of belief, will not necessarily accept it. And we see that now. So the thing is to work on shared values. It's to try to figure out a way, how can we find a shared value here, even if we disagree on the way to get there? And so, certainly evidence of providing opportunity for children who come from the background of limited opportunity, we can look at the results of how prominent that is. But, is there something about caring for young people, caring for children, for something? And I don't have the answers here. I don't believe I have the answers, but I think listening and sort of expanding that sort of arena of thought might be helpful. And Nancy surely is a social psychologist. I mean, both you and Rob probably think about these things.
I was just
about it.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in with exactly that. I think one of the things we often forget is how to tell the local story, how to get the narratives out there, how to turn our evidence into the local story. So, Mary Sue, when you said, children, and, I've been thinking so hard these days about, do a lot of work on immigration. And I've been thinking how important it is for us to get the stories out. In the first Trump administration, when he put the Muslim travel ban in, at Rutgers University, Newark, where I was, the Newest Americans Project did this whole digital platform about the stories of the newest Americans who were our students. It was so compelling in terms of getting the idea across about the diverse lived experiences and how rich they are and how important they are. And now I keep thinking about, how do we get across that every time they do a stop order grant on a grant on disabilities, we are losing pieces of the talent. But the only way to do that is to bring people together around common experiences, as Mary Sue said. I mean, so, for example, the ADA legislation was passed very easily because many families are touched by issues of disability. So if we go back to the raw experience, if you will, of individuals.
Unless you're bringing evidence that everyone in this presentation is Jewish, I wouldn't make the assumption that they are. I know you guys think that all these people are Jewish, but in reality, a significant number of them are not. Well, it is true that Marxism, communism, whatever, predominantly came into the United States from the Frankfurt School, which was predominantly filled with Jewish intellectuals. The reality of the matter is that a very significant number of leftists, and these are progressives, these aren't even communists, by the way, these are progressives. A very significant number of these people are not Jewish, have no Jewish ancestry, and if you make the assumption that they're Jewish when you have no fucking evidence, because you don't even know their names, you discredit all of us and you discredit this type of research. So please, unless you bring evidence, stop doing this. All right, Sarah, no harm, no foul. But remember, this is my classroom. This is not your classroom. So you're here to learn, okay?
Individuals on the ground and unpack our data around that. I think it makes a big difference. The stop order grants on cancer research right now are having huge effects. The stop orders
You don't have
on
to call me
rural
ma'am.
toxins
Come
in rural
on.
communities and how they're affecting children are having huge effects. And I think we just have to get those narratives out there. It also makes university research less abstract for people and really brings a variety of partners together. And I think we all need partners in this.
And I think it's important to also recognize that this isn't happened by accident, or this isn't just normal disagreements with folks. Again, you're talking about individuals who are extremely well-funded, who are
Shut
very
up, John.
knowledgeable, who are very intentional with regards
It's
to
fine.
the attacks on various organizations. So, for example, the attack on DEI, you can see the game plan started off with the attacks on critical
Race theory.
CRT, critical race theory, where again you define something in a way that has nothing to do with the way it actually is, but if you define it enough and you tie it to perhaps the most the strongest psychological motivation, which is the us versus them. And then you frame and make salient the us and make salient who the them are. And then you go and create all kinds of lies, all kinds of stories. You make very clear that you're not safe. And these are the people that are making you not safe. Because one of the things that history has taught us is that we will always trade other people's rights for our own safety. And so by raising the concerns and the fears, you've created an us versus them. And we've told you exactly who the them, who the they are, and people time and time again
Lutherans.
react
That's
in
who the
those
they is.
particular ways. And so and then nuance becomes our enemy. So when you're dealing with us versus them, safety issues, nuance goes away very quickly. And so our responses have to take into consideration the fact that we're not just dealing with what we as academics are used to, which is differences in opinions and the idea that evidence should automatically win, and we should be able to have a conversation, and the goal is ultimately to get it right. This is a different game plan. This is absolutely has different rules and requires different responses.
Well, I think as you've all mentioned, this battle has been going on for a long time. The resistance to this is not new. Just even in the last 3 years, we've seen an intensification, but certainly in the last 3 months, we've seen an extraordinary uptick in efforts to battle and dismantle efforts to advance diversity, equity, inclusion. And I think what the people who are participating in our webinar today really want an opportunity to learn from you as leaders who we know and respect as having worked on this across time. What advice do you have as efforts to dismantle and discredit diversity and equity inclusion across student services, research, teaching, all aspects of higher education? What is some of your advice you'd have for people in across the settings who are watching today and listening to this? What can people be doing? What suggestions do you have? What have you learned?
Yes, tell us. Tell us what they should do.
I'll jump in if that's all right.
Please.
So one of the first things, and this comes from my experience as an academic, is you got to define your terms. Define your terms conceptually. So what is it that you're attempting to do? What is your mission? What are your underlying goals? What are your principles? And be very clear about what they are and constantly frame those out. And then use those defining goals, mission, definitions to operationalize what it is that you're attempting to achieve. So you have something that you can actually evaluate your actions to, and to constantly go back to what it is that we're actually attempting to do. So right now we say DEI, and it's as if we all know what DEI is, but if you actually ask people what DEI is, we're all over the place. So we're not really talking about the same thing. And so being very clear about what is your goal, what is your role, what is your purpose, and then look at what it is that you're actually doing to see whether or not those actions are consistent with what you attempted to do. And then you can also look at whether or not those actions are consistent with other factors that people are throwing out, such as, oh, illegal.
You can tell this guy was an administrator in higher education because he's not saying anything. He's literally not saying anything. So the reason we watch this presentation is essentially what we're trying to do is catch these people in the act saying the thing that they really shouldn't be saying, but they say a lot of times on these meetings when they think they're just talking to each other. This guy is literally not saying anything. He's like, you need to define your terms and you need to make sure those terms do the things that you need them to do and all this stuff. It's like, can you give me some specifics, sir? I want to know specifically, what are you telling people to do? What are the definitions? How should those definitions be implemented? What tactics should they be implementing? That's what I want to know.
Legal DEI efforts. Well, we know what the law is. We can evaluate whether or not the work that one is doing is legal or not. In theory, the executive branch should not be able to change what the law is. So a new president doesn't change what the law is, regardless of their executive orders. And so being willing to have those clear terms and your clear actions and understanding what the law is should also guide you in these difficult times. And really, the other piece is you also have to have the courage of your convictions, the courage of your position in terms of what it is that you're supposed to be doing.
The courage of your convictions.
Rob, I really agree with you about that.
Have the courage of your
One of
convictions,
the
guys.
things we faced this sort of terrible coda to the Supreme Court decisions back in 2006 when the voters of Michigan outlawed the use of affirmative action in hiring and admissions in the state. And that was a really tough time. And one of the things I felt was so important, and I'd really like your opinion about this, but is that we immediately called a big meeting on the Diag. And we had my team was there, we spoke, our point was to help the community grieve about what had happened. And it was really important for us to say that and to say, okay, we have to follow the law. We're not going to break the law, but we're going to create something called diversity blueprints. where we tried and we get a lot of, community input. Groups were together to try to figure out what to do. How can we keep the value? This is about the value of the institution. It's about the mission of the institution. It goes beyond just some words that we're using, and the demonization of demonization of DEI. I mean, affirmative action was demonized. Well, this is being demonized, and so we have to stick to our core values. We have to promote it, and we have to do the best that we can. And with constant, I think leaders of the institution need to be out there talking about this, working with people, helping us get through and do what we can. Now, sadly, and I hope you agree with me, maybe you don't, but they're no good proxies for race. They're just not. I'm sorry. There are no race neutral methods to get to where we need to be as a society. Okay, let's recognize it. That's a problem. We're not going to give up.
Excuse me?
It's beyond just some of the, how can we keep the value? This is about the value of the institution. It's about the mission of the institution. It goes.
Hang on, I need to
Point
clip this.
Was to help the community grieve about what had happened, and it was really important for us to say that and to say, okay, we have to follow the law. We're not going to break the law, but we're going to create something called diversity blueprints. Our point was to help. Called a big meeting on the Diag, and we had my team was there. We spoke. Our point was to help the community grieve about what had happened, and it was really important for us to say that and to say, okay, we have to follow the law. We're not going to break the law, but we're going to create something called diversity blueprints, where we tried and we get a lot of, community input. Groups were together to try to figure out what to do. How can we keep the value? This is about the value of the institution. It's about the mission of the institution. It goes beyond just some words that we're using, and the demonization of demonization of DEI. I mean, affirmative action was demonized. Well, this is being demonized, and so we have to stick to our core values. We have to promote it, and we have to do the best that we can. And with constant, I think leaders of the institution need to be out there talking about this, working with people, helping us get through and do what we can. Now, sadly, and I hope you agree with me, maybe you don't, but they're no good proxies for race. They're just not. I'm sorry. There are no race neutral methods to get to where we need to be as a society. Okay, let's recognize it. That's a problem. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep trying within the law to do the things that we have to do. So I just
and
what you were saying.
I completely agree.
Hang on. Let me grab that clip. It's a great clip. That was a great clip. That was the former president or provost or whatever saying there is no way that we can do these things in a race-neutral manner. All right, bro. Whose channel are you fucking on right now? What are you doing here? Are you one of these women-hating retards that you just go around going, repeal the 19th? What the fuck are you doing here? Whose channel are you on right now? We're waiting for you. The entire stream stopped just for you. Do you have anything intellectual to add to this at all? You're the big brain that should be running anything. Do you have anything intellectual to add other than repeal the 19th? Where the fuck do you think you are? We're waiting for your answer in my chat. This is the second stupid thing you've said today. Oh, you do? You do? You want to take away my right to vote? Okay, I'm taking away your right to speak. Bye. Banned. You come into my fucking channel and you go, repeal the 19th, and you don't have anything to back it up with, you can get the fuck out. Because losers like that never do anything of value. They think they should be running all of society, but they literally never do anything of value. They just run around going, repeal the 19th, repeal the 19th, repeal the 19th. They're from their fucking mom's basement. Go fuck yourself.
with both of you. And I guess I just want to add the notion that we have to have collective action. We have to have a shared equity leadership model, as Adriana Kaysart talks about it. We can't just, yes, we as leaders absolutely have to be out there. I totally agree with Mary Sue, and we always are. But we also need the collective, because we need people to really come together in different positionalities. I mean, I always remember when Abby Stewart was putting together the advance grant for women in STEM at Michigan, and got a whole bunch of change agents, if you will, senior faculty with positions across different departments who could really speak to this, who could really come forward and could risk coming forward. And as leaders, we have to be willing to risk it, but we also need it to be spread throughout. So I'm not a fan of thinking that it's only in one place. And you weren't saying that, but you know, when you gathered on the diag, Mary Sue, that's exactly it. You had the force of the collective there. When we're working now nationally on immigration, we have to have all kinds of institutions tell the stories of their immigrant origin students and have people really understand that. So I think we sometimes get into this thing of the lone voice that is going to make the difference. And I really think it's just critical that, you know, we're so used to in higher ed being competitors as opposed to collaborators. And I also think we have to always do what I like to call a community of experts with and without pedigree. We have to listen to the voices on the ground outside the institution and bring them in. And, you know, the Kerner Commission more than 50 years ago said we all do better when we all do better. Well, what does that mean? How do we tell that story and get people really around it? But as both Robin and Mary Sue have said, we cannot flinch from our core values. DEI, whatever you want to call it, that's who we are as institutions. I mean, Hunter College was founded by an Irish immigrant who was forced out because he wanted to educate women. And he founded an institution to educate women because they weren't being educated anywhere else. I can't turn around and erase words like diversity from the website. I mean, it's insane. It's who we are. And I think we have to tell those histories and those stories. And the other quick thing I would say is that we have to do it with some humility. So we have to do it knowing that it's going to be one step forward and 20 steps back, just as Mary Sue described what happened after we won the case and then we lost it in the state, right? So we can't just look and assume that it's done or we've done it. It's got to be a
I think this notion of our values, which you've all referred to, and what you just used the word unflinching commitment to this. I think you all three have spoken to that in one way or another. I mean, Mary Sue, you spoke with such passion a couple of minutes ago about how crucial this is, but saying this is who we are is such a strong statement. And yet we're seeing throughout the country, DEI offices being closed, efforts being shuttered, name being erased, language being controlled. Many higher educations leaders have remained silent or have what some people call prematurely capitulated to illegal orders. Given your unflinching commitment to this and your...
Hang on. I'm preemptively clipping this.
I think we have to tell those histories. And
I think this is going to be a good clip.
And the other quick thing I would say is
my spidey sense is going off.
Humility. So we have to do it knowing that it's going to be one step forward and 20 steps back, just as Mary Sue described what happened after we won the case and then we lost it in the state, right? So we can't just look and assume that it's done or we've done it. It's got to be
I think this notion of our values, which you've all referred to, and what you just used the word unflinching commitment to this. I think you all three have spoken to that in one way or another. I mean, Mary Sue, you spoke with such passion a couple of minutes ago about how crucial this is, but saying this is who we are is such a strong statement. And yet we're seeing throughout the country, DEI offices being closed, efforts being shuttered, name being erased, language being controlled. Many higher educations leaders have remained silent or have what some people call prematurely capitulated to illegal orders. Given your unflinching commitment to this and your need for speaking out and sticking to it, your experience with that is part of why we invited you, because you have, as Michigan leaders, all done that. And I wonder if you could comment on what you're seeing around the country, and of course by us as well, but you're all in different places. So how do you think about the need for leaders to exhibit that boldness strategically?
I'll just start very quickly and then turn to my colleagues. But I have a really hard time with this notion of institutional neutrality. I mean, I just don't know what it means to be neutral in this current context. I get that we can't put out statements every time there are things happening in the world, but these are things that are touching every community our institutions are in. And I just don't see how we can be neutral. And I think we have to take the risk. We have to take the risk of being out there and you know, I mentioned we have to do it collectively. That gives some sense of not safety, but some sense of collaboration on it. But the idea that we can just not comment on when our students are being detained and deported, or when our LGBTQ students are feeling such threat and our faculty and staff, I mean, we have to comment. And so I understand this notion that we should only be taking on things that are relevant to us, but if universities really are public goods, all of this is relevant to us. And I just think we can neither check our individual identity at the door, nor should we check the institutional identity at the door.
So Nancy, I think that collective action is really important here. You know, I'm an ex-university president, I'm retired, and I'm very sensitive to the situation that you're in and that many current university presidents are in. So I want to be very careful about not criticizing people. But I do believe, and you're not, I mean, I know that, but I do think this getting together in groups, I'm part of a group of retired university presidents that, you know, we're trying to work together to do things. We had some articles in Fortune magazine, and we're going to try to be doing some more things to get out there and sort of say our, you know, we have values as institutions, and we have, we have missions, and we need to keep thinking about those as we think about higher education writ large in this country and how it's global leadership. I'm very worried. I know as many of you are, about, just us abandoning prematurely our global prominence in higher education in the world because of the, groundbreaking research that we do and student success and everything else. So much is at stake here. I think we all understand that. And I certainly promote, getting together in groups to try to help people.
Well, if we're going to argue that we're the leaders and best, then that means we have to lead not only when times are good, but also when times are extremely tough. So I've known, Nancy, I've known you
clip. That was a great clip, though.
30 something
great
years
clip
when we were both kindergartners, and Mary Sue 20 something, well, maybe actually close to 30 also. And I've had an opportunity to see you both lead in very difficult situations. So the point you had made earlier, Mary Sue, when you came out and said that these are the University of Michigan values, regardless of what Prop 2 is. I know how much heat you took. I know personally how much heat you took to do it. But in saying that, and the thing, and I'll talk about the Michigan story in general, is what has always made Michigan special is not that it's just the leaders, but Michigan has always been a place where the many, many, many folks, not necessarily in the highest parts of the university, but often in the highest parts, but all over the university, has had a set of values and been willing to work. And the institution has been a place where that work, that effort.
Not Sure says they use the words collective a lot. That's because they're collectivists. The left are collectivists. That's fundamentally opposed to the idea of individualism. It's fundamental. They look at everything as what is good for the group. What is best for the comrades that are in solidarity with the collective. It's an indication that they're leftists. But again, like these are not the most far left people that we watch. Just so if you're new to the channel and this is kind of like you stumbled upon this for the first time, these are not the most far left people in the world. These are progressives. Maybe they have some leftist tendencies, but we watch significantly more leftist people on this channel all the time. These people are not even as left as the Democratic Socialists of America. So this is kind of like these are the people who run university diversity offices. And this is honestly why I say that like DEI is not even the worst thing we have to worry about. If I find a treasure trove of DEI presentations on the University of Michigan's website, I'll watch them. I want to know if they said anything incriminating that we can use against them. That's just due diligence. But just so people are clear, DEI is not the biggest problem we're facing. It's not even DEI is trickle down from all of the crazy stuff that actual leftists are doing. And so when we're what do you expect? It always amazes me when conservatives come to presentations and then they're like, these people sure do talk a lot. They're giving a presentation, bro. What do you want them to do? These people sure do fluff each other. They're working together. What do you want them to do? These people have a lot to say about themselves. They're literally giving a presentation, asshole. Maybe you should be sitting and listening to the content of what they're saying rather than being all in your fee-fees about the fact that they get to give a presentation and you don't. It blows my mind. Conservatives come to the presentations all the time. They're like, why are they talking so much? They're giving a fucking presentation. Could it be possible that conservatives just don't know how presentations work because they didn't go to school? Is that possible? Could it be possible that they don't know how presentations work because they've never had a job that's required them to give a presentation? I don't know, man. Anyway, that's beside the point. But DEI trainings are actually not even that big of a deal, to be honest. It's very low-hanging fruit. The only reason I'm really watching this is because I'm getting clips to use against them and to send to people who can make more noise on this issue than I can. So
has been supported, that there have been resources, opportunities, a valuing of that. And what leadership can do that no other part of the university can do is say, this is who we are and this is where we're going. And provide, if nothing else, the opportunity for the larger collective to move forward. Or can send the signal that no, this isn't the place and that this work isn't valued anymore, and potentially shut down those particular efforts. So that's one place that leadership is extremely important and can only do. The other thing that I would say, and again, using you both as examples, is you have to be connected to the folks that you're supposedly leading. If you're not talking, if you're not connecting, if you're not with that larger community, you're not leading, you're just out for a walk. And you're also missing the fundamental point of DEI. It's not that you want to hear what you want to hear. The most important things is to hear things that you don't want to hear, or hear things from places and people and perspectives and parts of the university that there's no way that you can hear from where you are. So when things get tough, we can't have our circles get smaller. They actually need to get bigger in terms of developing.
Okay, bro, just because you don't understand them, that means that you don't speak their language. It might mean you're not smart enough to be here, too. If you're not here to listen and you're not here to learn, then what the fuck are you doing here? These people, I don't understand this. These people talk, this is how you sound in my head, by the way. These people talk all day and they don't say anything. Why the fuck aren't you listening? We have already in this presentation gotten them twice talking about openly defying Trump's executive orders. We already in this presentation have gotten high-level administrators talk openly on video about defying Trump's executive orders. Do you want to know, not sure, why you guys constantly lose to the left? Do you guys want to know why the left perpetually wins and you perpetually lose? Presentations I've been involved with had expectation of productivity. What about they are organizing to encourage universities to openly defy the Trump administration executive orders? Do you not understand? Are you smart enough to be here? Do you want to know why the left always wins and you always lose? Because the left literally, in broad fucking daylight, will have entire presentations of university presidents and senior level administrators talking openly about here's how we're going to defy the Trump administration, here's how we're going to ignore these executive orders, here's how we're going to encourage colleges and universities around the country to ignore these executive orders. And retards on the internet come in and they go, they're not even saying anything and I don't think this is productive. Well, then you're not fucking listening. And if you're not smart enough to be here, there's the door. You can go back to Sesame Street or the Daily Wire or Steven Crowder or whatever retard show you watched before this. I don't think you're smart enough to be here, though, if you don't actually know what we're watching right now. This is a high IQ channel. This is not a low IQ channel. This is an exclusive community. This is not an inclusive community. We shame retards here. We don't have time for this shit. Conservatives pandering to the lowest IQ people among them is why conservatives will always and perpetually lose. Thank you, Nomeo. I appreciate you.
Good, effective, important, value-centered leadership.
Can I hop in here because we're beginning to get so many questions from the chat, and I'd like to
answer
put
questions
some of
from the
those
chat,
into the
please.
conversation here. We know that there have been all these executive orders, but we're also knowing that in many contexts, including at the University of Michigan, DEI efforts have been shuttered. And I think people really want to hear from you as people with such a long history for leadership in this, around this mission. I think the way people have responded to orders was necessary to do so quickly. What can be done when we know so many of these things are illegal? What advice would you give to responding to the orders that are coming when there's such doubt about them? People are wondering as we're talking when they watch what's going on our own campus. And I know that's not the goal of our talk today, but what is it that we should be doing in responding to these things that we know are not legal?
So one thing I think we should be doing is being very careful not to take preemptive action. I mean, that is not to scrub things, not to close things, to be careful to not extend the kind of cachet to those executive orders that kind of.
Hang on. Another clip. We got another clip.
Leadership.
Another time.
Can I hop in here because we're beginning to get so many.
Hang on.
Effective, important,
This is another clip.
value-centered leadership.
Can I hop in here because we're beginning to get so many questions from the chat, and I'd like to try to put some of those into the conversation here. We know that there have been all these executive orders, but we're also knowing that in many contexts, including at the University of Michigan, DEI efforts have been shuttered. And I think people really want to hear from you as people with such a long history for leadership in this, around this mission. I think the way that people have responded to orders was necessary to do so quickly. What can be done when we know so many of these things are illegal? What advice would you give to responding to the orders that are coming when there's such doubt about them? People are wondering as we're talking when they watch what's going on our own campus. And I know that's not the goal of our talk today, but what is it that we should be doing in responding to these things that we know are not legal?
So one thing I think we should be doing is being very careful not to take preemptive action. I mean, that is not to scrub things, not to close things, to be careful to not extend the kind of cachet to those executive orders that kind of action does. I mean, you know, when the early executive orders and the Dear Colleague letter came out, a whole set of law professors across the country wrote a fabulous memo going in detail across all the aspects that were argued and showing why they were not legal. They were not within the bounds. Well, we immediately shared that memo as far and wide as we could so that you give people some on the ground, some ammunition, if you will, for not preemptively doing it. And then, you know, yes, when you get stop orders, for example, on really critical grants, we have to find ways to backstop them, at least for a while. We can't probably endlessly, but at least for a while. So I think, you know, the temptation to just try to be below the target is pretty difficult. On the other hand, I don't think it helps to just put a target on us. We have to be doing it, as Mary Sue said, and I said earlier, collectively. So the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration just filed a lawsuit on the SEVIS terminations, the visa terminations. I mean, we have to do things like that, but we also should not preemptively change what we're doing on the ground, I believe.
All right, another great clip. I have some things I want to address. Let me just make sure I get this clip saved. 3 great clips already from this presentation. This is actually a really productive use of my time. Do they ever give proof for these things being illegal? They did an entire presentation about it, Sarah. Now, this might not be proof that you find credible, but if you're asking, do they give reasons to back it up? They did an entire presentation about it. We may watch it. We may not get to it today. We may also get to it today. But they did an entire presentation about it. Tommy, shut the fuck up. Do not answer questions that people are asking in the chat earnestly. Do not answer them with your fucking trolling bullshit. Do not do this again. I allow you to troll and shitpost more than I probably should, but if someone is asking a question and you answer it like this, that is not fucking acceptable. University of Michigan has not, no, this is completely incorrect. The University of Michigan is not ground zero for the left. Columbia University is ground zero for the left. We don't make shit up here. All right, back to this. Having to reprimand a lot in the chat today, and I really do not like it at all.
So I'll also add to that, Nancy. I certainly agree with you about it. But we still need to remember that students still need to be, we should be working, our faculty should be working, our student affairs people should be working, everybody should be working.
Thank you,
to
Tommy.
help students have the kind of experiences that they need to function in a multiracial society, which is what we have. And so the work still has to continue regardless of what's happening at the top. Even though I'm not a sitting university president, we all know the AAU has filed a lawsuit about some of these actions. I just heard this afternoon that this stop order on the longitudinal study of women's health has been reversed because, think about losing all those data for this years and how important it has been to women's health. And, it's not just women. Men have wives, they have daughters, they have sisters, they have mothers. Everybody should care about this. And so what I'm hoping is that kind of rationality will.
Thanks for the super chat, Matthew. No, you got to stop listening to conservative influencers. The only reason you know about Evergreen State University is it's conservative influencers. Evergreen State University today is pretty much completely bankrupt. They are not the epicenter of everything. They had one incident that happened 8 years ago, something like that. And so, no, they are not epicenter. Berkeley, you could make the argument that Berkeley does have a fair amount of leftist stuff going on. It's obviously an extremely leftist school. But the reality is the Frankfurt School came to America and set up shop at Columbia University. Columbia University has always been the epicenter of this. If you don't know that Columbia University is the epicenter of this, it's because your influencers have failed you and you need to stop listening to them. But I do appreciate the money. Thank you.
Will continue, and we need to keep working. And again, I want to be careful. I'm saying this as a retired president.
Yeah, where's the woke right at Evergreen State College? Yeah.
To current sitting presidents, because this is very tough and very hard.
And I would agree it's tough and it is hard. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh yeah, these are the three things that need to happen and that's the easy way. But the other side of that is that's, again, leadership. That's part of the responsibility. That goes along with being at a national championship celebration. That goes along with all the good parts of being president. That's why hopefully you do it, because you want to make tough, difficult decisions, because that's how you ultimately make a difference. And that's for all of us. And so, again, thinking about how you can do in your particular role, in your particular space, so not just as a sitting president, but how can you continue to work towards the values that you espouse, and to try to make it clear on the ground to the people that we're serving that whether or not we call it diversity or whatever, I am here to make sure that you have the best opportunity to be as successful and contribute to the greater good as possible. And I'm not going to let where you're at, where you're coming from, what your identity is, keep you from getting that opportunity. And that's how I'm going to do my job. And then I'm going to meet with other people in similar spaces to see how we can organize together and have impact in those particular ways as well.
We've been talking, and you've made some comments that the people who are listening appreciated about the need for leaders to, first of all, surround themselves with people who might push and might disagree, to get that into the leadership team, and also to be to connect with faculty and staff and students. But another thing that I know that you've each done is that universities aren't run only by the academic leadership and faculty governance, but also by boards. And I wonder if you the role of leadership with boards, they want to stay the course on this agenda and stay true to who the university is. How have you found ways to take that on in your role as leaders?
Well, let me take that a bit, because Michigan has a board that the president reports to directly. So it's a governing board that's really intimately involved with the institution. I think it's extraordinarily important for leaders to work effectively with governing boards, to keep the governing board informed, and to take it. Sometimes leaders have to educate boards, because boards don't necessarily come from a state of being in higher education or knowing how it works or how institutions have to be run. I mean, I'm always amused by people who would say to me over the years, well, just tell the faculty what to do. And I've said, well, most often if the faculty don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. They're independent.
Very true.
And so the leaders have to be persuasive about this. So educating the board, I think, is important. And I also think that sometimes you have to disagree with a board. You know, you can't always be in lockstep, and that probably wouldn't be healthy anyway. I mean, having disagreements is not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to take on the responsibility of doing that work, and sometimes that work is really hard. So, you know, that's my contribution to this, again, as a former president.
I also sort of, I guess I'm doing my social psychology thing. Sorry. I also I kind of want to bring in the notion that we sometimes are prey to what we call the fundamental attribution error. We just think it's all about the person. It's all about being able to do it yourself and to make the difference.
That's not what
change the place. And
that is not what the fundamental attribution error is. This bitch is the president of a university, apparently some type of social psychologist, and she just completely misdefined the fundamental attribution error. Bruh. Hang on. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna prove this to you. What is the fundamental attribution error? Explain it simply. The fundamental attribution error is a common mistake people make when judging others' behavior. We tend to blame someone's personality or character for what they do while ignoring the situation or circumstances that they're in. That's what that means. It's like the fundamental attribution error is basically like, if you like someone, you're more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt, whereas if you dislike someone and something goes wrong for that person, you're not going to look at the circumstances around what happened. You're just going to make fun of them and say they caused it themselves because they're a horrible person. That's what the fundamental attribution error is. College president just completely misdefined it. Wow. I know it's kind of like a nerdy, wonky thing, but like it honestly doesn't surprise me at all.
Having spent 3 years trying to take out a fake Indian mascot at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, I can tell you that we have to be humbled by context, and so boards are also part of institutional history and part of the contextual history, and we have to go into situations understanding and not
Chris,
assuming.
Just because I appreciate the super chat, just because some people has been called Berkeley of the Midwest, and by the way, I've never heard that, and I don't even agree with that characterization. There are universities in the Midwest that are, quite frankly, significantly more woke than the University of Michigan. The University of Michigan isn't good, but if you go to the University of Minnesota, they are significantly more woke. If you go to the University of Wisconsin, they are significantly more woke, and it's not even close. And so I don't agree with this characterization. I mean, people can say stuff, I guess, but I absolutely do not agree with it.
That if we just stick with our voice and our values, it will win out at the end. On the other hand, I really believe that leaders that do stick with voice and value end up having an impact on the institution, even if we don't win a particular battle at a time with a particular board or a particular institutional context. And I certainly learned that from the Chief Illinois experience. I mean, the year after I left, NC2A told them to get rid of it, and they did. So, I like to think that the power of the indigenous community in Chicago that we brought to the table had something to do with it. But honestly, it was a different thing. So I just think we have to, and I mean that not to, I really think we have to learn to balance the notion that if we stick to our values, we won't always win.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you really are losing in the end. I mean, it's an odd way of saying it, but I think you know what I mean.
But what I would say, Nancy, is I don't think there's any way that that win happens if you had not stuck up for those values, and it costs you. That's the other thing, is it costs to be a leader trying to do the right thing when there's a lot of pressure to not do the right thing. But again, part of the respect, I'll just say personally, that I have for you, and I know across the country, and again, same thing Mary Sue is, and most leaders is there a point that you're willing to say, you know, I'm here to do this job, and because there are a set of values and a set of things that I want to accomplish, and that ultimately no position is going to keep me from that space. And if it means losing a job, it means losing a job. Now, I'm not arguing, and again, it's easy for me to say this having not been a president, but we all do those jobs, or at least I hope we do the jobs, because we have a vision of what we want to see out of the institution that is consistent with our values. And we hope that our boards have similar kinds of visions, and you try
You guys
to
are
work
saying
with
Madison
them
is known as
to
the Berkeley of Midwest. That actually resonates a lot more with me.
get to that place that makes a difference. But it can't.
Mark, the reason you think they're talking in word salad is that you don't speak their language. If you want to know what they're saying, then you need to actually study the language they're speaking. They are not speaking in word salad. This is actually some of the clearest language that you can hear on the left. If you want to learn what the left is saying, I will teach you. There's resources on my Substack and stuff like that. But this is not word salad at all. If you have questions about what's going on, please ask them in the chat. But this is extremely coherent, and this is not, again, this is like not even complicated what they're saying right now. So if you have a specific question, let us know in the chat and we will answer it.
Can't be, well, I just work
Oh, is that it?
for the board.
No.
And whatever the board says is exactly the way it's going to be, regardless of what is. Lots of stuff we do when we have bosses that we're willing to do that wouldn't be our choice. But it's got to always be in the context of a larger value system and vision. At least that's my personal perspective.
Well, we're close to out of time, and I just wanted to end with a couple of comments of my own. One is that it was a really very, very interesting and useful to hear from you today. And I do want to say that as both a faculty member and a dean, having worked with each of you, I learned a tremendous amount about collaborating across the university with a kind of ferociousness that you've all shown today. I worked with Rob on the DEI 1.0 plan as a dean. Nancy, you taught me so much and modeled so much, really values, and Mary Sue, certainly I can remember many conversations and things we needed to do. So I personally just want to extend my appreciation for how much I've been able to learn. And I think everyone here today was able to hear from you how strongly you're committed you are to this, how much you see this, as many of you have said. This is who we are. These are values. You won't always win. We will make mistakes. But this effort in this country takes, as you said, Nancy, 2 steps forward. We know we'll slide back, but we keep our foot on the pedal. And that is why we asked you to do this today, because we've all seen you do that. And people are looking for guidance and the courage and the sense of collectiveness that we can actually battle this round of attacks and this effort to dismantle the work that you so clearly have expressed your commitment to. On behalf of everybody on the webinar, just thank you so much for making the time to talk with everybody.
So that was presentation number 1. That was actually turned out to be a great presentation. It may have seemed dry to a lot of people, but we actually did get some pretty good clips of some people saying things, quite frankly, that they shouldn't have been saying on camera. So let's go over, so Sarah asked in the chat, do they ever talk about, like, legally why they're saying it's okay okay to break the law. Well, how convenient. They actually did a presentation on that. Again, if people are joining, we are watching presentations from the University of Michigan. This is from a center at the University of Michigan called the National Center for Institutional Diversity. This is the type of stuff that gets buried in university environments where, unless you're specifically going and looking for it, you're probably not going to find it. They have a series of presentations on their website from this center. We don't have time to watch another full presentation because we are going to be going into Spy Stream in probably about a little over half an hour, but we can spend some time there until then and we can watch as much as we can watch. That's a different topic for a different day. I'm not going to discuss this today, but yeah, have I heard of that? Yes, it's a completely different topic for a different day though. But just to let people know, we are going to be going inside a live leftist training. It's going to start about 8 o'clock tonight. I'm going to be shutting this stream currently down, and we're going to be restarting another stream because I keep Spy Streams separate. This is going to be a live leftist call. They're debriefing from the May Day protests. And so we're going to hear not only how they felt the Labor Day protests, we're going to hear not only how they felt about how the Labor Day protests went, we're going to hear what the left is planning next. This call is organized by the Teachers Union. It will start live about 8 p.m. tonight. I will start the stream about 15 minutes before. I am keeping this public. So if you want to come join me for Spy Stream in about an hour and go inside a live leftist training, we will be doing that. I made this Spy Stream public because this weekend we are doing a Spy Stream that is not public, but it's going to be fucking epic. It's going to be amazing. This weekend, for 6 hours on Saturday and for 6 hours on Sunday, we are doing a rare multi-day Spy Stream where we are infiltrating a live revolutionary socialist conference. The people we're watching today are progressives. The people we're going to watch on Spy Stream in about an hour, they're progressives. They are not as far left as it goes. We're going to watch the furthest of the far left on Saturday and Sunday. And how you get access to that is either you become a member of my YouTube channel, or you can become a member of my Substack, or you can be on my locals, Patreon, Twitter subscribers too. But the main ways that people get access to this is either become a member of my YouTube channel or become a member of my Substack. You can become a member of my Substack by going over to Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com and signing up for $8 a month, $80 a year. Hey, Mark, you don't even speak their language, bro. You don't even speak their language. Mark, we were just listening to a progressive. I started school in 1961 and I lived through all this. Then you didn't learn anything, Mark, because you don't even speak their language. We were watching a fairly easy to understand progressive earlier. You don't know shit about shit. I know you think you know everything, but you don't. So please, you have got to unlearn whatever. If you are actually interested in what the left is doing and learning how to speak their language, you have got to unlearn every bad habit you've picked up until this point, and you have to start over again. Mark, if you're looking for resources to help you learn, go over to my Substack. Click on the How to Speak Socialist section. There are 2 classes you can start with. I'm going to recommend you start with this one. This is my re-education class, where it is a 90-minute class. It is totally free. It is available on demand. You can watch it anytime you want. This will give you an overview of the language. So go and watch this class. Once you get done that one, you can watch the 4-hour masterclass, which goes into much more depth. Both of these classes rely on primary source evidence from far left trainings so that you can hear for yourself. And I don't ever want people to say, my lived experience. We're not fucking leftists here. I don't give a flying fuck about your lived experience. If you can't understand the left, if you don't know how to speak their language, your lived experience means nothing. Go take the classes. Go learn something. While you're there, sign up to support my work on Substack, because I do all this stuff for free every day of my life. Yes, the language we were just watching was very, very easy compared to Queer Marxists. That is for sure. That is for sure. All right, but let's go into this presentation. We do have to pick it up on YouTube. And let's see what they had to say in this one. Hang on, get the sound up. Again, I think it's very nice that they put all their info Oh, at the front, so I don't have to go searching
It is my
for
great
later.
pleasure to welcome you today to our session from the Dear Colleague series. My name is Matthew Countryman. I am an associate professor of history and in the Department of Afro-American and African Studies here at the University of Michigan, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. This event series, Dear Colleagues, is sponsored by the National Center for Institutional Diversity, the Michigan Program for Advancing Cultural Transformation, and the Center for Social Solutions. We know this to be a contentious time. We are committed to uplifting the voices and works of academic experts. To do this, we draw upon academic freedoms as outlined in the American Association of University Professors 1940 Statement of Principles on Academic Freedom and Tenure.
I know.
University of Michigan's SACWA Senate Assembly Statement on Academic Freedom, and University of Michigan's Standard Practices Guide on Freedom of Speech and Artistic Expression. Some perspectives expressed during this event may differ from those of the sponsoring units or of the University of Michigan, and we present a forum for these perspectives.
This guy is saying, listen, guys, we're going to say some stuff in this presentation, and we might tell you to do things that are technically illegal, and we're not doing this. The university isn't promoting this. We're not representing the university when we tell you to do illegal shit that's defying the Trump administration.
To deepen and broaden our knowledge of the subject matter.
Nice disclaimer, bro.
The series is an opportunity for us to come together and gain a deeper understanding of the historical and current higher education efforts in advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. To acquire the tools to interpret the current campaign against DEI and to build the skills and courage to collectively reaffirm our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in higher education. As part of this series, I want to set a shared definition for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know that talent is distributed across all communities, but opportunity is not. Cultivating a diverse campus community, including removing barriers to higher education access, enables the type of culturally and intellectually rich learning and working environments necessary for a world-class education, catalyzing new knowledge production and innovations, and developing solutions that positively impact society. In order to best nurture and benefit from a diverse campus community, we must create and sustain the conditions of equity and inclusion that allow all campus members to participate and thrive. Decades of evidence demonstrate the educational and societal benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion, improving student outcomes, preparing a skilled workforce to address the needs of our society, and advancing research and innovations that offer solutions to our most pressing health, economic, and environmental challenges. In 2020, an executive order was signed to prohibit diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings within the federal government. While this order was quickly overturned, beginning in 2021, we saw an organized and well-funded campaign against diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the education system, with hundreds of bills introduced across states to restrict teaching, training, and learning in K-12 and higher education. Over the past couple of months, the Trump administration has intensified the political campaign against DEI with additional executive orders and directives targeting academic institutions. The ongoing attacks on education signal the important role that the sector plays in our society. At a fundamental level, education socializes citizens around sociocultural values, norms, and expectations, and teaches them to think critically and analytically about complex issues. The attacks on academic institutions and higher education in particular undermine academic freedom and the autonomy for educators to determine curricula and for researchers to freely and openly pursue scientific and other forms of scholarly inquiry. Restricting and censoring higher education institutions' efforts to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion threaten social progress made to rectify the long-standing history of systematic and structural inequalities in the United States. Our goal for this event is to offer expertise and to be honest and truthful. While this event series was designed well in advance, in the last week, the topic for discussion today has become even more relevant, in particular here at the University of Michigan. Referencing the federal directives, the University of Michigan executive leadership has decided to close out its DEI strategic plan, 2.0 strategic plan.
Oh, good timing.
Including closing the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And
so this presentation, just to give people a point of reference, This presentation was given in April, and this is around the same time that they were having all sorts of there was all sorts of controversy with Santa Ono. He was supposed to go be the president at the University of Florida, and then Chris Rufo sabotaged that for him. And I mean, Santa Ono didn't do, Santa Ono's not as woke as people think he is. I've known who Santa Ono is for a long time. He's just a guy that wanted to be a university president. That's it. So he was go along to get along. But basically, so because Santa Ono was trying to become president of the University of Florida, all this stuff, he was now the former president of the University of Michigan. He had to do all this stuff like closing the DEI offices there and all this stuff. So that pissed off a lot of the faculty, and the faculty at the University of Michigan never really liked Santa Ono to begin with, and they didn't want to work with him anyway. And so that was why he was going to the University of Florida, because the faculty at the University of Michigan hated him. And so anyway, that's the time period of when this presentation took place.
Office for Health, Equity, and Inclusion, and laying off dedicated staffs who've worked tirelessly on these initiatives. Well, each of you may be listening within a different institutional context, and we welcome those of you not from U of M, and we're so excited that you've come to join us today. We hope that this event will offer you community, knowledge, and strategies.
Way, if someone wants something to do while we're listening to this, does anyone want to go to the New School's website and see what's going on with the new College of Florida, the supposed anti-woke College of Florida that had Judith Butler on campus earlier this year, whenever that happened? We need to do a little check-in with the new College of Florida. I'm going to pull that up on my desktop right now.
The pressures that we all encounter as we interpret and navigate policies that affect the core functions of the university, while trying to anticipate what might come next. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our two legal and policy experts, Liliana Garces, Ken McIntyre.
Hey, bro, you don't know fuck shit off about the left. That's a technical term, by the way. You don't know anything about the left if you think we're talking about economics. If you think that all the left cares about is economics, you don't know shit.
Professor of Excellence in School Leadership at the University of Texas at Austin.
So sick of people coming into my chat,
Samuel
pretending they know what they're talking about when they don't.
Samuel Bagenstos, Arlene Susan Cohen, Professor of Social Policy, and Frank G. Millard, Professor of Law at the University of Michigan. Throughout our discussion today, we will have the privilege.
The New School of College's website got an update, and it's really bad. It's really bad. It's ugly. Oh, God.
To discuss and unpack with them the current legal context. They will offer guidance for our higher education community on how best to understand the legal scope and limits of federal directives, navigate potential risks, and uphold academic freedom and institutional autonomy with evolving legal parameters. And with that, let me turn to Sam and Liliana. Sam, as someone who has served in a presidential administration, not the current one, and has experience navigating policy changes, could you share a bit about your background and how your experience shapes your views of the recent directives on DEI?
Yeah, for sure. And thank you. And thanks to so many people who are here. I see we're well.
I'm very sorry. You are not smart enough to follow me on Twitter. You're not. I need to block you. You never critique leftist economics. I need to come block you right now, because you seem to be under the impression that I give a flying fuck about critiquing leftist economics when leftists believe that capitalism is a social and cultural model, you fucking retard. So why am I spending my time, according to you, critiquing leftist economics when the left doesn't even really talk about economics? They talk about capitalism as a social or cultural model, which is what we are currently doing. Are you smart enough to be here? Oh, obviously not. So now I got to get into my chat. I got to stop the whole stream just to block some retard in my chat who's no. Oh, how is capitalism not a social and cultural model? You fucking retard, you don't even know how to listen. I literally just said capitalism is a social and cultural model on the left, not an economic model. So now I know you don't know how to listen. So now I know I really need to ban you and I need to mute you in my chat because you're just going to keep pissing me off. Goodbye, retard. Goodbye. We are implementing severe policies right now on my channel and on my Twitter feed. No more retards. No more. I'm sorry if people are getting sick of hearing me yell at people, but you have to understand, this is every day of my fucking life. Every day of my life, I have retards in a chat or a comment section or some other place. Well, Karlyn, what you really need to know about the left is, and then they don't know shit. They literally don't know anything. And this is why people are so uninformed about what the left is, because there are a whole bunch of people running around, running their fucking mouths when they're really low IQ retards, and then other people who don't know better are going, wow, really? Okay. And that's why everyone is so misinformed. Yeah, like we've never heard debunks of this before. This guy's like, you don't even know how to debunk them. Bitch, I wrote an entire fucking book debunking the Communist Manifesto. Do some basic research before you run your mouth in my chat about what I have and have not done. Yeah, we just hit a new level of retardia. Yep. I am looking up, this is at the University of Michigan. I was talking about the New College of Florida. Anyway, back to the presentation.
Well over 900 people on the line. So
Ejected.
I am now a professor at the University of Michigan, where I've been for the past 15 years or so. But I've taken 2 leaves from my job at the University of Michigan to serve in the federal government. During the Obama administration, I worked in the Department of Justice as the Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. So did a lot of civil rights enforcement, including enforcing, many of the laws that people are trying to make sure they comply with when they're engaging in DEI programming. And then in the Biden administration, I served as the general counsel at the Office of Management and Budget for the first year and a half, where I, among other things, ran the executive order process within the White House, and then spent the rest of the administration as general counsel at the Department of Health and Human Services, which has played a very significant role in the first few months of the second Trump administration in trying to go after what they're, I think, misleadingly calling or threateningly calling illegal DEI programming. So, the perspective that I have from that work is to see a very substantial overreach on the part of the current Trump administration, trying to suggest and intimidate people into thinking that DEI programming is inherently unlawful, when in fact DEI programming of many, 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 many kinds is perfectly lawful. And happy to talk about those issues as we go forward.
Thanks so much, Sam. And Liliana, as a leading legal and higher education scholar, you have played a key role in litigation on race-conscious admissions as a counsel of record in Friend of the Court briefs filed before the U.S. Supreme Court. Could you share a bit about your work and how it informs your understandings and actions in today's climate?
Thank you. Well, I want to start by just thanking you for the opportunity to be in community during this time and really begin acknowledging the heaviness that many many in the University of Michigan community and others who care about your community may be feeling at this moment. I know we're here because we work to advance goals to promote equal access and opportunity, to ensure that our students can meet their highest potential and aspirations, regardless of race or any other marginalized identity. And these are all.
So the New College of Florida, ever since Christopher Rufo got put on the board of trustees, the New College of Florida was supposed to be the anti-woke college. Well, the anti-woke college graduated someone with a thesis with the title Queering Classics, a Dinner Party with the Devil, Dracula, and Dante, hosted by Dr. Hannibal Lecter. And this was a thesis submitted for a bachelor's degree in 2023. So it kind of seems as though they're still, at least in 2023, we're still awarding degrees for this shit. For my thesis, I have compiled a portfolio of 3 essays on the NBC television series Hannibal. This fucking kid at the anti-woke college in Florida wrote a thesis about queering a fucking NBC show. But remember, guys, we're winning. We're winning. Woke is dead. We're winning. We're winning. Pinky swear. Trust me, bro. Fucking retards. Conservative fucking retards. I swear to God.
Goals and values that really require an environment where we feel empowered in our ability to support our students, to pursue bold and unconventional ideas, as you mentioned, through our research without fear of censorship or reprisal. And we're all striving, that's what we're striving for with these sessions. And so thank you for the opportunity to join. Now to address your question, I'm a trained lawyer. My partner likes to call me a recovering one. After that legal training, I clerked for federal judge in U.S. District Court. I was a lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union and litigated cases before the U.S. Supreme Court on immigrant rights issues. And I'm also a trained social scientist. And in my research, I examine how the law and education policies come together to shape educational opportunity and social inequality. And so I come to this conversation with that lens as an education researcher and a legal scholar. And all my comments are grounded from that research expertise. I should say nothing that we should say today should be interpreted as legal advice. And a lot of my work has involved conducting research to inform legal cases, as well as translating those findings to inform the findings from social science research to inform the development of those cases that then have implications for education policy. Most recently, I served as co-counsel in an amicus brief that was filed in the Harvard case by 1,241 social scientists. This is a topic on affirmative action. I know it's a topic that generates a lot of strong opinions. It has been at the core of how we as a society promote ideals of equal access and opportunity, fairness, and our ability to advance the freedom for students to realize their full potential. And it's in these legal cases that come down to how we interpret legal provisions, particularly the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And through those interpretations, what we really want is for race not to matter, right? That is the end goal. The question is how we achieve that goal.
Okay.
Research shows us that we get there by being attentive to the barriers that exist so that we can ensure a fair system, that we ensure equal protection when we recognize the inequities at play, and then we act to make sure that laws and policies are not creating those inequities, and to the extent that they are, that we remove the barriers.
What did she just say? What did she just say? Pop quiz for the chat. Do not overcomplicate this. I can hear the wheels turning in all your heads right now, and you're trying to make this too difficult. What did she just say? Do not use the word capitalism. What did she just say? Without using the word capitalism. I just said without using the word capitalism. She did not say the word capital. She did not say capitalism, guys. So stop answering capitalism for every single thing. What did she just say? No one knows what she just said. I'm just going to sit here and play my video game until someone gets it right. I'm going to just sit here and play my... That's not correct, Dan. Nope. I'm going to sit here and play my video game until someone gets it right. Well, you should have been paying attention, Tommy. Too bad, so sad. I'm going to sit here and play my video game until someone gets it right. We could be here... I could be playing my video game for another 10 fucking minutes before I end this stream. Nope, she didn't say anything about hierarchies. I don't know why you're using the term hierarchy. I don't know, but she didn't say that at all. Why are we doing this exercise if people aren't listening? I mean, I guess I'm researching this stuff, so I guess that's fine. I benefit from it, but no, she didn't say anything about... Well, I guess in a roundabout way she did say removing whiteness, so that's probably the closest thing so far, but that's not the term I'm looking for. Good guess. Not exactly what I'm looking for right now. Anyone else? Why is it I can play a game and talk? Well, maybe we should have been listening the first time, Dan. Maybe we should have been listening the first time. All right, I'll play it again. I am playing a cooking game on my phone.
Promote ideals of equal access and opportunity, fairness, and our ability to advance the freedom for students to realize their full potential. And it's in these legal cases that come down to how we interpret legal provisions, particularly the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And through those interpretations, what we really want is for race not to matter, right? That is the end goal. The question is how we achieve that goal. Research shows us that we get there by being attentive to the barriers that exist so that we can ensure a fair system, that we ensure equal protection when we recognize the inequities at play, and then we act to make sure that laws and policies are not creating those inequities, and to the extent that they are, that we remove the barriers.
What is she talking about? No, she didn't say remove the labels of race. Don't make shit up. No one said anything about private property ownership. Don't make shit up. I told you guys not to make this too hard. Nope, not about getting rid of race. That's not what was said. There is a very specific term I'm looking for. There is a no one said nothing about the Constitution. Why are you guys making shit up? Aha! Reagan! Reagan got it. Systemic racism. She's talking about systemic racism. She's talking about getting rid of systemic racism. Guys, it's important that you guys understand this and can explain this to other people. I'm not just doing these pop quizzes for my health. It is important that you guys need to be able to understand what is being said, and you need to be able to explain it to other people. And I'm seeing all sorts of stuff in the chat that has literally fuck off nothing to do with anything that this woman said. And the reason I'm seeing a lot of things in the chat that have fuck off nothing to do with what this woman said is because all you guys are doing is regurgitating the same talking points you've heard from me over and over and over again, which makes me believe that you're not really listening and you're not really learning. You're just playing to regurgitate the talking points. What she's talking about is systemic racism. Systemic racism means the system that upholds racism, which does mean capitalism. It is a reference to that. No. And that would have been completely the wrong answer. Why would that have been wrong? Why would it have been wrong to say racism and not wrong to say systemic racism? New question. Why would the incorrect answer have been racism and the correct answer is systemic racism? It's okay to be wrong, by the way, but I want you to understand why you were wrong. I'm not going to shame people for getting the wrong answer. Getting the wrong answer is a part of learning. We have to get the wrong answer in order to learn things. I want to make sure you understand why you are wrong. Why it is the incorrect answer. Racism is about the individual. Systemic racism is about the system. They are two fundamentally different things. Correct. Because this is not about skin color. This has nothing to do with skin color. Systemic racism is about the system. They're trying to identify laws and policies in the system. This is critical race theory. This is what critical race theory is. This is why these people are like, conservatives don't even know the definition of critical race theory, because conservatives don't know the definition of critical race theory. Critical race theory is around systemic racism, the laws and the policies that uphold disparities that were created by capitalism in the first place. I wouldn't even say that, average person. I would not equate the two at all. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's listen a little bit more.
And what we're witnessing and experiencing in this current climate that has been building up is the imposition of a very different perspective. One that sociologists would call color blindness or race evasiveness. that says that existing inequities are not relevant to that determination, that we have to be blind to them, that the only consideration is whether laws or policy.
No, wrong. No. This has nothing to do with white skin color. It has nothing to do with Europeans. It has nothing to do with any of that. And I don't want to see you have a hissy fit meltdown in my chat from being told no. Just accept that the answer is no. Systemic racism means the system that upholds racism. The system means capitalism. It has nothing to fuck off do with your stories about white genocide or any of that. That is a completely separate conversation. Every single time you idiots conflate the two, you make it harder to actually accomplish either. You make it harder to defeat these people. You also make it harder to deal with the actual problem. So oh no, another retard I need to block over on Twitter who can't stand being told wrong because he's a fucking pussy. Why is it that all of these dissonant right-wingers are such fucking pussies? Honestly. These dissident right-wingers that run around talking about race and white men need to rule everything, and white men are the inheritors of everything, and white men are better because they're European, and blah, 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 blah. You tell these fucking pussies they're wrong once, and they whine, and they whine, and they whine, and they whine, and they're not even smart enough to hinge into fucking reality. Bye, bro. Bye. Muted in my chat. Go away. Bye. Every time, spend more time arguing with retards on the internet than I do actually being productive.
Make distinctions on the basis of race. That just thinking about those distinctions constitutes discrimination. Of course, when you erase that context of inequality and you characterize laws that attend to race as, it allows you to characterize these laws as those that attend to preferences or that.
And now that guy's going to run around the internet going, she's anti-white, even though he's actually the retard in the situation. It's like, goddamn. You know what? I'm not even paying attention anymore, so we probably need to stop. This woman's kind of boring anyway. This is not to say we won't continue to look into this, but like we need to stop for today. We need to stop. I was going to stop in about 5 minutes anyway. We need to stop. The reason that we need to stop is I cannot continue to argue with retards today. I can't. My patience is minimal. Like we have to figure out ways to keep these people away. I mean, maybe the ways to keep these people away is literally we just let them talk and then they say something stupid and then we block them. And maybe that's just it. It's just like, man, there's got to be a solution to keeping stupid people away from me. There has to be. I can't, I'm going to give myself a heart attack over this shit. Yeah, let's all be smarter doing spy stream. Anyway. If you want to learn how to do what I do, then watch a lot of my content and take my classes and learn how to speak the language. If you don't know how to speak the language, you are not going to be able to do what I do. So learn how to speak the language, and that is your first step. And until you do that, and once you learn how to speak the language, you're going to know, but like, you need to learn how to speak the language, and there is no shortcut, and there is no getting around it. You cannot do what I do if you don't speak their language fluently. Okay, so we're going to end this stream, and what we're going to do next is we're going to go into Spy Stream. Spy Stream is when we watch a live leftist training as it's happening. Tonight, we're going inside an organizing call for the Mayday Strong organization. I will be streaming this on Rumble. I put the YouTube link in the Rumble chat. I will be setting up the Rumble stream. I just have to put this, I have to end this stream before I start a new one over there. But basically, this is a debrief call from the Mayday Strong organization. The Mayday Strong organization is primarily the teachers' unions. So it's national teachers' unions and local teachers' unions. They are going to be doing a debrief about their Labor Day protests from the other day. They're going to talk about how they did. They're also going to no, that's not a solution. They're also going to talk about what's coming next, which is probably more important for us. So I'm going to shut down this stream. I'm going to be starting up that stream, and you guys can come and join us inside a live call. And the benefit of Spy Stream is I don't talk during it. So you won't have to listen to me yell at retards. Even if retards come into the chat and they're their usual retard selves, all I can do is block them because I actually have to just let the recording go. So it is what it is. And We have got to figure out a way to keep the retards away from me, though. Seriously. I can't. It is shocking to me how many stupid people there are on the internet. It is shocking to me. I'm especially, and to be frank, and this is the last thing I'll say, I am especially disappointed in the dissident right-wingers who are so fucking obsessed with race, because if they actually just shut the fuck up and listened for more than 30 seconds, they would probably get what I'm saying. But they are incapable of shutting the fuck up and listening. And these are the people who think they should be running everything. These are the people who think white men should be running everything. And they can't shut the fuck up and actually hinge into reality for 30 seconds to look at evidence. And then they have a history and go, you're anti-white and you're literally Jewish. And like all this shit, it's like, honestly, no, you are beneath me. You are beneath me, white man. You are beneath me by a pretty significant amount. Okay, that's all. I will see you guys on the other side. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.